there's this huge discussion happening, and a little bit ago, I actually put up video from the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, if you're a big fan of MMA, discussing what kind of hold this was. We know that chokeholds, apparently, they're not allowed within the New York PD. Now everybody's an armchair, like, MMA expert now. For reaction, I'm joined by John Cardillo. He is former New York City police officer. He's also the founder and the CEO of PsyID. It's the leading provider of actionable social media intelligence. John, what do you make of this decision? A lot of people are up in arms about this. Left and right, there seems to be a lot of consensus on some things, too. What is your take?
There is, and I'm probably one of the few in the dissent. I actually think the grand jury got it right, because while you're correct, since 1993, the New York City Police Department Patrol Guide, which is the NYPD Bible, has banned the use of chokeholds. Chokehold implies restriction of an airway, asphyxiation. That wasn't what occurred here. And what occurred here, and even which has been validated by the medical examiner's report, there was no damage to the windpipe or the airway.
Right.
Was more of a leverage takedown hold. And Eric Garner was a very tall guy, was a very heavy guy. And there's a big difference with a chokehold that's designed to restrict airflow, to weaken a person, and the hold that was used, which would look identical on video. So I really don't have an argument.
Right.
We look very close. But this was a much shorter cop, and he brought Garner to the ground. Garner was speaking. Garner was clearly in some kind of distress.
Well, let me bring this up, too. And this was something, John, that was reported by New York Magazine and a bunch of other media outlets. They were saying that the medical examiner's office determined that Garner died as a direct result of, like, chest compressions and things of that nature. And when I looked at the hold, and I'm only, I watch MMA, but I don't actually do jiu-jitsu. So I've never actually, I've only chokehold people in jest. That's going to be taken so horribly wrong if this ever gets out on the internet. Anyway, but it looked to me that when I look at the video, and again, I'm not one of the jurors, I respect how the system operates. I wasn't in this room, John, for months on end looking at this information. But when as an observer of the video, what I see Pantaleo doing is he does that carotid restriction. He didn't take it right across his windpipe, but he takes it just on the side of Garner's neck, which seems to me to imply that he knows enough of what he's doing that he's really trying not to make it a straight arm bar all the way across the neck. What do you make of that, and what do you make of the other reports that are saying that the medical examiner is saying, well, it's that use of force that resulted in his death?
Well, sure, yeah. You have to understand how these coroner's reports are to be read. And let me preface this by saying I'm not a police apologist. When cops do wrong, I'm the first one to call them out.
Right.
But in this case, like you said, we weren't in that grand jury room. So we're watching the video, and we're trying to Monday morning quarterback from nearly a year, and in some cases thousands of miles away, a situation that went down in a very short amount of time. Eric Garner ultimately passed away from cardiac arrest in an ambulance on the way to the hospital.
Right. He
was a big guy. He was that altercation takes a lot out of you. If you even practice MMA, I box, and I say that loosely.
Right.
Those workouts are workouts that, knock me out for days on end. And so it's a very stressful activity being in a physical altercation. I don't like second-guessing a coroner's report and the grand jurors by what I see on a video. Furthermore, I don't disagree with the coroner. Physical force did ultimately result in Eric Garner, who had suffered from pre-existing obesity, heart disease, and asthma. Physical force is what caused the ultimate cardiac arrest that led to his death. So in that sense, the coroner's report is entirely accurate.
Right.
But the part I keep going back to is no damage to the windpipe and no damage or bruising on the throat or neck.
Last quick question for you, John. I don't understand how this isn't at least a manslaughter charge.
Well, we don't know what the prosecutor presented to the grand jury. And so I don't know what charges the prosecutor presented. It could be a lot like the Casey Anthony case where they presented second-degree murder. We all knew what she did, but the charges they presented, the evidence didn't rise to the bar.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if any of that evidence is going to be released and made public like it was in the situation of Mike Brown and Darren Wilson. John Cardillo, thanks so much for joining us on such short notice on this. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks always for the invite, Dana.
Folks, we're going to